Pathmonk is the AI for website conversions. We're increasing online competition. Over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmonk to your website in seconds, letting the AI do all the work and increase conversions while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. All right, everyone, welcome to today's episode of Pathmonk Presents. Today, we are joined by Edward Yu. He's the Director of E-commerce and Growth at AlgaeCal. Edward, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I'm very glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, Edward. So I want to start with the basics a little bit because obviously we checked out AlgaeCal internally, and this is how it came to be. But can you share what's the idea behind your company? And what we typically ask is, if you were explaining it to a friend over coffee, how would you describe what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. AlgaeCal, first and foremost, is a bone health company. All of our products and our flagship one primarily um, helps people, is the only clinically supported multi-nutrient calcium formula that physically regrows or increases bone mineral density in people, even if they're elderly and even if they struggled all their lives with it. Right? We have 3 clinical studies that show that across hundreds of participants. And you can tell I'm pretty fired up about the mission because it's very rare. Nobody else gets the claim, make the claims that we do as far as effectiveness goes for our supplements.
Absolutely. I think it's impressive in a sense that I know, I'm into fitness, for example, right? So I know the importance of bone density, both for longevity and performance also, right? Just bone health in general. And I've always heard, the only way to do it is obviously through nutrition and exercise also. But knowing that a specific supplement that, can help with that, it's kind of a game changer, right? Because I'm sure they'll help many different kinds of people, right? And so,
Yeah.
and in fact, I'm also curious in a way, what kind of type of customers are the best fit for your products? Because I'm sure the elderly will be part of it, but
Yeah.
maybe there's someone else between your ideal customer, let's say, and how does that impact their shopping experience in a way? Can you share a little
That
bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's exactly it, right? If you were to pick the demographically most common one, it'd be an elderly lady who's had a just received or has received sometime in the past a diagnosis that impacted her poorly, right? That revealed troubling signs with her bone health. And there's a lot of cheap calciums in the grocery store and whatnot, but she's taking those and it's just not working, right? Because you take and you still have because with generally as you age, you're losing 1% of your bone mineral density a year, and so it's very hard to fight against it already, especially after menopause. And then all the cheap grocery store calciums are mined, basically. If you can imagine, they're mined from quarries. They're basically rock, as opposed to our stuff, which is made from actual plant algae. And so people, the thing is, they're taking the cheap stuff. Maybe they're even taking expensive stuff. But the problem is, it's kind of scary because they're getting their DEXA scans, their bone density scans, and it's not showing any improvement. And so that's a very common profile. It's someone who's elderly, who's had maybe a scare, who's also gotten scans um, that haven't shown any improvement, even though they might be exercising or eating properly and doing everything right, so to speak.
Got it. So that's interesting. Would that be your main segment at the moment, like kind of, elderly people, I guess, looking to improve their bone health. And it's a two-parter really. Like if they are, uh what is the most effective customer acquisition channel for them, like so that you can get more of those people informed that and being able to sell the product? And how have you optimized those channels that you use to drive consistent sales?
Yeah, for sure. The yeah, that's the most numerically common type of profile. I mean, we do have some younger people, for example, who are still concerned about bone health, and they'll take our collagen, for example. And but in general, it skews more towards the older demographic. And the channels that work for them. I mean, the biggest problem for their journeys, and we always think about our customers or potential customers' journeys, not what's more convenient for us. And for them, it's how what does their experience look like? Well, they've been hearing conventional wisdom all these years, word of mouth, or talking with their doctors and what have you. Uh, and yet they still have this problem in front of them. And so the biggest issue that we're trying to solve for them, regardless of what channel, is obviously then for them to know that there's a better option. And then so knowing that, having identified that, how do we reach them? People are, I wouldn't say always computer savvy, but people know they can do research on the internet now. And so obviously search becomes a huge and primary way that people find us. I mean, we've been around for 23 years now, so built up quite a large customer base, and there's lots of ways that you can find us, navigate around, and be able to find our website online, whether that's organic search or our paid search ads or what have you. That's our largest, acquisition channel for the direct to consumer side. And I think your third question was, how do we optimize that? There's a very iterative, quick process that we look at internally between every month and week when we make observations about how different ad groups are performing or how different keywords are performing. We'll stay on top of the trends and then also pay attention to matching those up with the right landing pages that answer the question or that tie back to what that search term was talking about, right? And so we're making
Got
sure
it.
that, yeah, again, I think the common theme here is that we're trying to put on our customer hats as often as possible, think about how it feels to be them and what's going to answer the question quickest if they're searching online for a better option.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about the website for a second, right? So, so I just want to understand a little bit about you from your experience, really. If you could share what are the key elements in your experience again of a high converting e-commerce website, and if you have any tools, tactics, or maybe even strategies that you rely on to boost sales and improve user experience, please do share because I know our audience wants it, and I know myself and our team, we're always keeping an eye out for new and interesting tactics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll answer that question in reverse. The things that have been really helpful and actually especially fun to collect are, for example, heat maps, right? Where you're looking at how people are scrolling through your website or how they're clicking and engaging with the page. It's the the SaaS options that are available have gotten as far as even being able to identify rage clicks, a large repeated number of clicks over a very short amount of time where they're trying to get somewhere. Or, you nail down with a scroll heat map how far people go before they jump. And maybe there's a big gap where people bounce. There's a cliff, and then everyone leaves the page in a specific place. And obviously, Pathmonk and tools like yours are going to be very helpful for people to understand, right? And to recapture those who aren't getting what they need. Like that's the worst thing philosophically to me is the fact that you've already gotten them to your website. They're there, and yet something is preventing them from either learning more or purchasing, right? And it's not like we're
Mm.
not saying 100% of people who go to your website are going to convert. That's never going to happen. However, that number of people who would never purchase is still pretty small. It's still somewhat small. So you have to figure that you need a variety of content and to solve the problem that they need, and also the feedback that you collect from them to be able to know what it is that you're not addressing their need for.
That's a great point, and you're preaching to the choir here. Obviously, we that's what we dedicate ourselves to, at Pathmonk, and it's really making that content contextual, right? And making sure that people that land on the page then are able to go through the journey seamlessly and be able to convert, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's great to understand, how you think about it. It's just keeping things simple and relevant for the visitor, right?
Yep.
So okay,
Yeah.
let's switch gears for a second, Edward. I want to talk about you as a leader for a second. What's a day in the life for you as a director of e-commerce and growth? And if you could give us a glimpse into what are the main things you focus on day to day, problems even that arise, and what's it like to run an e-commerce like yours?
Sure. Maybe I'll answer the inverse of your question because I think that's my style here. Our team here is great, is incredible, right? My primary job is not to do the work, but to make sure that there's cohesion and that they have the resources for them to solve problems. I don't need to get in their way. I'm confident that I never need to micromanage them, and they're so capable that, yeah, like I said, I'll just stay out of the way. Biggest things for me are making sure that they have what they need, that there's not any, or there's as few kinks in the process as possible, and then that if there's times or situations where we need to work with other teams, and then there's a misalignment in, let's say, resources or deadlines or whatnot, that I can help everybody negotiate a non-zero sum, a happy outcome, so that everybody can move forward, right? Because we do everything internally. We don't have external contractors and whatnot, so it's important that, I mean, everyone is part of our team at the end of the day. So I
Right,
think
of course.
cohesion is a big part there. In a single word, I want to be the multiplier of the team instead of, I don't know, any other analogies like I'm the highest performer or whatnot. I'm not about that, right? Just let me be the multiplier of the work of the team that we already have.
Got it. So I'm curious, with you having this, the leadership position, do you still get operative time to times? And if so, if not, actually, do you ever miss it?
Oh, yeah, actually, yes. It's still, the short answer is yes, because sometimes that's what the team needs or asks for, right? To get into the accounts um, for a quick question. Or the part that I do get operational the most often for is attribution, which is extremely fun, right? And it's a huge problem because no one solved attribution in the entire industry. Like no one has perfect attribution. And there's all sorts of very good reasons for that, from privacy to tech limitations to, I mean, all sorts of things,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
I think yes. The quick answer is yes. In the not so often, but I do look forward to any attribution, in particular when we do
nice.
get hands-on.
You get the itch sometimes, right? Gotta
Yep.
scratch it.
Yep.
All right, very good. All right, Edward, we're coming towards the end of our time here. So typically what we do a rapid fire segment where, we have a few questions, we try to keep things light and engaging. So the only rule we have, let's say, is that for a concise question, we expect a concise answer. Would you be ready for that?
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, let's do it. So do you prefer watching or reading?
Reading.
Reading. Okay. What's the latest book you picked up? And were there any gems or ideas that stuck with you?
Yeah, it's this one I loved. It's called Average is Over by Tyler Cowen. And essentially incredibly prescient. He picked up on all the major political, social, economic trends that have we've been observing in the US now recently. And he wrote this book in 2013. But he was able to he wasn't trying to predict, he was just trying to identify. But basically he predicts all the major ones
Wow,
that have now
that's
happened by
impressive.
2025.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah.
If anything, even for investing, like,
Yeah.
if you get an idea of these socioeconomic, developments or whatever it may be, like if you have an eye for that, then you can use that for that reason also, I guess, right?
Yeah. And lots of just understanding where everything is, right? Because the world's pretty complicated and
Oh
it's
yeah.
you do feel confused an awful lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. So if you had a magic wand and could fix one frustrating thing in your marketing life with tech, what would it be?
Yeah, they'd be getting instant and complete feedback from every single visitor. You'd be able to know why they did X, Y, or Z action on your site. Yeah,
That's a good one. Okay.
yeah.
Now, about you, if you could go back and give your past self a quick pep talk at the start of your journey, what advice would you drop?
We're all gonna make it. There's gonna be extremely hard times, and that's normal. And there's gonna be crises, and stuff is gonna go wrong all the time. But if you zoom out and look, you're gonna make it, and it's all part of the process, right? Failures, pain, daily pain, whatever flavor that takes, it's gonna end up okay. And uh, you don't necessarily well, yeah, you don't get stronger from every type of those, but you're gonna outlast them.
Love it. That's a beautiful mindset to have. Very optimistic. Edward, thanks a lot for being on the show with us today. I want to give you the last word. So, if someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is the one thing that they should remember about the work you're doing at AlgaeCal?
I mean, there's hope. There's something out there that works. You just have to find us. We're here at algaecal.com. You can increase your bone mineral density at any age.
Amazing. Edward, thank you again. And we hope to see you again soon. Thanks again for the conversation and wish you a wonderful day.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for having me, Rick. And it was a fun conversation. Look forward to being back if there's never another opportunity.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.